Good evening. We welcome you here to our regular meeting of West Valley City Council. We call the meeting to order. We note that all council members are present. We'll begin our evening with an opening ceremony from Councilwoman Karen Lang.
Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as tradition, we have special recognitions at this point, and our special recognitions include scouts. And there's appears to be a scout in the back. And we'd like to welcome you here, but we'd actually invite, if we can, the young man to come up and say which troop, what you're here working on, and what school you attend. Nothing confidential. Right up here to the very front and speak into that, around on the other side. No, go around the other side. That's okay.
Talk to the mayor.
I'm working on citizenship. I'm from Troop 811 and I come from Matheson Junior High.
Welcome. It's nice to have you here tonight. Enjoy the meeting. Thank you very much. And I think that's all. I think the rest are here for other issues. So, okay. With that, then, we go on to approval of the minutes of September 13th. To the council for a motion.
Mayor, move for approval of the minutes of September 13th.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Looks like they're okay the way they are. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passed unanimously. The minutes are approved. Next, we go to our comment period. We do have a public hearing. I don't have anyone that signed up for the comment period. There is one that signed up. Oh, okay, must be back there. Don't have that. We'll get that in a moment. But if you're here to speak about application S13 2016, this is a final plat approval, Sunrise Acre subdivision. We'll have a separate public input for that. Just curious, anyone here to speak on that? Doesn't look like it. Okay. But we do have more than one or just one? Ooh. 4? 5? Okay. Once I get that, I guess we'll just take them in order. Okay. We begin with Robert Erickson. We remind you that maximum of 5 minutes. And if we don't have contact information, we ask you to give it.
My name is Robert Erickson. I live at 2559 South Derby Street, Chesterfield. I'm here to speak about sidewalks. I just have my notes, so I'm going to just read from it. In 1976, 2 boys lost their lives walking next to Redwood Road. There wasn't a sidewalk to walk on, and they were hit by a car. After that, the community fought hard for the overpass that is there now, and that's the one that crosses from Redwood Elementary over into the neighborhood. And they also had the speed limit reduced and sidewalks put in on Redwood. It is sad that it takes a tragedy to make these things happen. At intersections, so many fatalities have to happen before they put in stoplights. It's just sad. So let's look ahead a little and do something about the children that have to walk on the road on Crystal Avenue. That's in Chesterfield. Sidewalks not only give people a safe, solid, level place to walk that are generally free from tripping hazards and puddles, they also serve as a kind of guide for vehicles. For the most part, drivers will stay away from the curb or the edge of a sidewalk. I'm here tonight to discuss two areas that are in desperate need of sidewalks. First, the overpass coming from Redwood Elementary drops children off at the west end of a dead-end street called Malvern. At about 3:20 every school day, this little street is packed to the rafters with cars waiting for the children. The children, when they come off the ramp, have one thing on their minds, and that's to find the vehicle they need to get a ride with that will take them home, maybe to a possible plate of cookies and a glass of milk. For the ones lucky enough to find their ride at the west end of the road, they are loaded up and on their way, while others are still walking down the road to find the rides. I've seen this personally, being there to pick up my grandkids. Some children are walking behind and around other cars looking for the rides. It's just an accident waiting to happen. We would like to see a sidewalk put down the north side of Malvern all the way to Lester Avenue, which is the cross street, where it would connect with the sidewalks already there. This will help keep children out of the road and possibly help with the parking on that little road. So children can walk down the north side of Malvern east to Lester Avenue, then turn left and go north and walk towards four-way stop of Crystal and Lester. There they can cross to the north with a crossing guard, and then from there cross to the east, and we'll put them on the north side of Crystal Avenue. The guards will be needed at the four-way stop because it's a place that's notorious for people running those stop signs. The second area is a sidewalk down the north side of Crystal Avenue from Lester clear to Chesterfield Street. American Preparatory Academy has approximately 580 students. 77 of these have walking passes. That's 77 children coming from somewhere within walking distance. So I don't know for sure, but I'm willing to bet the majority of them are coming from the area north of Crystal Avenue. It has been proposed that the city wants to put a sidewalk down the south side of Crystal. There are several issues with that. First of all, no one lives on the south side of Crystal, and there are 5 side streets branching to the north off of Crystal. That's Chatham, Derby, Fargo, Hempstead, and Chesterfield streets. If you put a sidewalk on the south side of the street, that leaves at least 4 areas where kids will have to cross in an unprotected intersection. If you put that sidewalk over there on the south side, the kids, they won't use it anyway, and during the winter, who's going to be over there to clear the snow and ice off of it? Along the north side, you have homeowners who would be responsible for keeping the sidewalk clean. This will be an improvement for safety's sake. No one wants it to affect the agricultural setting that Chesterfield enjoys. It is mainly to protect the children and the citizens of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Adam Nash, but are you here to speak on the Sunrise Acres? Okay, we're going to have a separate public hearing on that, so we'll hold you for just a moment. Gina Hovitt? Not Sunrise Acres? Okay.
Hello, and thank you for giving me this time to speak. My name is Gina Hovitt. I reside at 1601 West Southgate Avenue in Chesterfield. I'm here to agree with the previous speaker that I think the sidewalk should be placed on the south side of Crystal Avenue. In addition to the reason that he stated that all the residences are, on the north side, we don't want our children at the school crossing at 4 different locations. I'm a longtime resident, and I also have children that attend American Preparatory who walk to and from their school and ride bikes. And I have gone out of my way to address them to take other roads that are safer. Another issue with it being on the south side is the morning sun. When you're traveling east in the morning, the sun is blinding and you cannot see anything. Coming back, when you're headed west, of course you can see because the sun's not in your eyes. This is not an issue in the evening for 4:30, 5:30 p.m. because the sun is not low enough. Even when daylight savings happens, the sun is not low enough to blind any drivers. There has been I can't recall the date, but there was a child hit back in 1980s on Crystal Avenue on the cross street of Derby. There's a memorial there as well. I love this neighborhood. I love everything that you guys have done here. I've watched 2 track stations be put in. On Crystal Avenue alone, there's now 2 churches and a school. And every day when I'm walking my kids to school, I see APA students and Libertyville Elementary students on both sides of the school. I love the crosswalk that you guys put in on Lester and Crystal, and the stop signs and the speed limit signs. They've helped a lot, but we do need to progress and go a little bit further for the safety of our children. In the winter time, when there's snow on the sides, the kids walk closer to the roads, making it extremely dangerous. That street is off limits to my kids when there's snow on the ground. We also have carpool at our school that backs up sometimes onto Crystal Avenue. If that sidewalk is, again, on the south side, kids will be jumping into their cars. Those cars will think it's clear to just make a U-turn and go, and thus causing a traffic jam during the school release, during school hours. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. And then Laura Levitt.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. I also am here to talk about the sidewalks with not much more to add than those people who have spoken before me. I also agree that, let me back up. When I first heard the news that there was funding that was going to be available to put in sidewalks, you just can't imagine the joy and glee of that. And although I don't understand all of the implications and the costs and of doing it on one side versus the other, I just feel that if we are making this investment at this time to make it where it will do the most benefit will be just absolutely imperative. We do have so much traffic that comes into our school, American Preparatory Academy, there on that the south side of the road. And I just worry with students trying to then having to cross 2 lanes of traffic in the school if the sidewalk was placed on that side. Right now, most of our students cross over and walk down the north side, and as supposed, it is true that many of them live there in that neighborhood to the north. I counted houses as I was coming up to work this morning. There's about 7 homes, and I'm not sure who lives in them, but on the south side of the road, and 20 plus on the other side, plus the number of side roads that access that. And logically, it just seems like that would be the most benefit and the safest for all of the students. Like I said, I'm really excited at this possibility. When I very first started working at that campus was in 2010. And I remember one of the parents coming to me and saying, "We will never see sidewalks on Crystal Avenue. We will never see sidewalks on Crystal Avenue. They just think we're a bunch of druggies here." And obviously, this is not the case in Chesterfield. And we sure are so grateful and appreciative of your consideration of this. And I also am not even sure who to thank for this, but thank you for your responsiveness of this. The last time I came, I mentioned that the speed limit, the flashing one that we were so grateful to have put up had been tagged, and asked if we could go and clean that. And like the next day I came to work, and thank you, who would have arranged that and made that happen. Thank you. I know in speaking for my school, we are just so appreciative of the support that we have felt from West Valley City. Well, thank you. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you. I believe that was all here for just the general public comment period. Okay. Any comments from our city manager?
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I probably better make a comment or two to the sidewalk issue, or question, or potential project. First of all, and I want to do it in the sense of maybe clearing up some rumor, or just give clearer information on what actually is and is not happening in any kind of a conversation. And I appreciate all the good commentary and thanks, and we appreciate that. And I certainly also want to make it known and clear that, yeah, that impression that we would never do or would do projects in Chesterfield certainly isn't true. We've done many over the years, including the sidewalk project on Lester, I believe it is. It goes north and south. So yes, we do and are in favor of those kinds of projects. In this particular instance on Crystal Avenue, and I just want to make sure, and I don't want to burst any bubbles because I always love the good feeling that's kind of going on, but there's no money assigned or available for this project right now. So I don't know where that's started getting legs, but I just want to make sure that people aren't getting too excited or we're not spreading that word out there, because that's not the case right now. But we do have some ideas and some concepts about how to go and put some money together. For example, the Public Works Director has applied for some state funding that would help us. This particular project that we're talking about on Crystal would be a very expensive sidewalk project. It's about $1 million. That doesn't even bring into account the other project that was proposed by Mr. Erickson, for example, on Malvern. So in order to complete $1 million sidewalk project, as you as the council know, that takes years, and it usually takes cobbling together multi-phases, and it usually takes multi-sources. And the reason for that is, as you all know, but the audience might not, is that there just aren't any significant levels of money that are assigned to sidewalk construction. There's a small amount that we do every year, and we there are also, which is mostly for maintenance and repair, but we also do usually have a little bit of money for actual sidewalk construction too. Unfortunately, that's also applied against a list about this long of sidewalk projects that have been prioritized in the past. So I thought Russ was actually pretty proactive in the concept that he came up with here. And I think, and now I'm sort of speaking in rumor mode, so I don't want to get too crazy about this, but I think this whole discussion on the north and the south side of the road may have some bearing on that proposal, because it certainly would be less expensive to build on the south side of the road, and we may be looking at some options that would stretch any dollars we got as far as we possibly could to both make that project happen faster and cover more ground. We don't have to do it that way. There are other avenues from which to pursue this sort of a project, like, for example, a partnership between the school district, APA, the city, any kind of grant funding that we could come up with would be one way to assemble a pot of dollars that maybe could get this project done faster. So we certainly would be open to that sort of discussion. Lacking that kind of a proposal, we would be reduced at the city level, the staff level, to doing things like applying for grants like Russ is doing, maybe cobbling together some dollars that, and they're usually pretty limited, but come available through the CDBG fund as we build up some fund balances slowly over the years, or sort of extracurricular, sources like that we would pool over time. But that takes longer, and it certainly covers less ground if you do a traditional type of sidewalk project, which would be more akin to what would happen on the north side of the road, because you got to go acquire right of way. Now you're talking actual curb and gutter, traditional 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 foot width of sidewalk, and the more you put into that project, obviously the higher the linear per foot cost is and the less you can do. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. All of that to be said, really what I'm saying is we're working on the project. We're trying to come up with some creative ways to make the project happen. They might not include what we would consider the traditional type of sidewalk, concrete, curb and gutter, the whole thing, but could happen faster and along a longer length if we did some less traditional sorts of work. And I'm not even saying what exactly that is. All I'm saying is we're trying to be creative and make that happen faster in a longer fashion. What that looks like right now, I don't know. We're still working with that. We're more than happy to work with community representatives to get that to happen if we can. But that's probably about the best explanation I can make of what's currently going on with even the concept. There is no project under design, there's no formal project proposal or anything like that. We're just actually looking at concepts for trying to accomplish something that a lot of people obviously would like and desire, and rightfully so, and put the money together to do it. That's it, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you to the council. Any comments?
Just one, not to shatter any hopes, but we've lived in the city for 30 years, and when we started, we were on about number 80 on the list of sidewalks. We're right on 40th West, so it's a very busy street. We've actually moved up on that list in the 30 years. We're now up to 52. So hopefully yours comes ahead of ours.
Any other comments? Councilman Young?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you for the community to come in tonight and make the observation and the presentation to us, and I appreciate it very much. I personally live in Chesterfield, and I know the American Preparatory School Academy School is a very good school and have a number of students and they all live in that area, and appreciate very much with Wayne's explanation right there, and about creative way try to solve that problem, and hopefully we can do something together, and hopefully community can continue to give us a feedback and see how we can support you guys. Yeah.
Anything else? Perhaps one of the great challenges with this, Mr. Pilers, you talked about $1 million project. Perhaps we ought to look at doing it in phases or pieces, because if we wait till we get $1 million, maybe we'll never do it. But if we start doing a piece here and a piece there, it may take a few years, but at least there's some progress being made. And perhaps even working with some of the homeowners to say, you know, can you help out since this will benefit your property?
Yes, absolutely, Mayor. In fact, there are even other mechanisms for doing this, which I didn't mention, like the special improvement district concept, in which all the property owners could share. They could pony up money through their annual property taxes specific to a project like that, and that would probably be the fastest way to do it, but usually you don't have that sort of community consensus for doing that kind of project. I will say also, too, I have asked Russ, and this project is on the priority list, and it's high on the priority list, but as Dawn mentioned, it doesn't move that fast because we just don't get a lot of money to put into that.
And we do have sidewalks across the street from us, so we're not totally without sidewalks, but just in front of our house, it's still not.
You're just special.
I know.
All right, well, thank you. We'll now move on to our public hearings. So the first one we're going to address on item 7A on our agenda is application S-13-2016, filed by Adam Nash, requesting final plat approval for the Sunrise Acres subdivision at 3320 South, 6535 West, 5.7 acres. Will create 13 lots under our new RE zoning concept. And this will be a parcel of land that has a stub-street built to it. It's kind of back in off of the street. And so there will be 12 lots, I guess, in here. And so that's the issue that is before us. With that introduction, then, we will open the public hearing portion of this for anyone here to speak to this issue. So that now being open, we invite you to come forward to speak on this issue. If you have comments on this one. I think you're the only one.
I'm it, so I want to tell you thank you very much, and we're looking forward to building a nice subdivision in the city. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions? Don't think there are.
I'm excited to see a project come through.
In that RA zone, it'll be interesting. We're excited.
Yeah, I think the whole council is looking forward to seeing this progress forward.
It'll be nice.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, we'll close the public input portion of this hearing. We'll now, in conjunction with that application, consider ordinance 16-43 to approve the amendment to this subdivision. To the council.
Mayor, I move for approval of ordinance 16-43.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, again, in accordance with state law, we support that. We'll have a roll call vote.
Councilman Vincent?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lang?
Yes.
Councilman Bueller?
Aye.
Councilman Yoon?
Aye.
Councilman Christensen?
Yes.
Councilman Norfelt?
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Next, we go to item 8 on our agenda. It is ordinance 16-44. This is to amend our code in the city, our municipal code, to adopt the 2015 edition of the International Fire Code. And so most of these, I believe, were technical amendments. They didn't highlight any, although it might be nice just to maybe pick the top 3 from our staff and say, why don't you just mention those to us, the 3 most, what they think are significant, just kind of so we know. Most of you probably aren't interested, but I would just like to know the depth of the types of changes that they're making. So, and that doesn't have to be here tonight, but just sometime, you know, just so I have an idea.
I was going to say, Mayor, I'm usually pretty good on the information. I'm not that good, so I can't get you that.
Well, I'll just mention that probably the major change in this fire code is the discussion about CO detectors, which has not been prominent in previous codes, but it is in this one.
It is. So they're doing a lot more significant requirements around what those are and that they be placed in. Now that one, see, particularly I would like to know what the changes were.
Well, they added it. It wasn't in the previous.
There was nothing in there before. So it's just adding a requirement. They probably outlined what type of CO detector and et cetera is recommended.
And what uses, whether it's in a commercial building or residential buildings.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. Appreciate that feedback. And see, something like that, although it's not a major change, I have a CO2 detector, it's nice to know that that's official now and required. Nothing we can do about the homes already built, but anyway. Okay, with that introduction then, we'll turn it to the council.
I would like to move for approval of Resolution 16-44.
Second.
Ordinance 16-44.
Second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, properly before us. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the roll call vote.
Councilman Norfelt?
Yes.
Councilman Christensen?
Yes for the ordinance.
Councilman Yoon?
Aye.
Councilman Bueller?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang?
Yes.
Councilman Vincent?
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Actually, resolutions are next, and so he was just anxious to get ahead here.
Well, and the numbers are a lot different on the resolutions. We've got a lot more of those.
That is in fact true, since they're basically sequentially numbered. Okay, we go to item 9 on our agenda. We'll be dealing with resolutions now. Resolution 16-158. This is an agreement the city will enter into with Ham Consulting Group, LLC in Washington, D.C. They are our lobbyists back there. This has a 3-year period, although has a clause for each side with 30 days notice to opt out. This particular agreement is for fiscal impact for the 3-year period, $192,000. Didn't that work out $64,000 a year? Yeah. Yeah, there it is, I see it. So, and this is a continuation of what we have been doing in the past. It is in fact essentially the same, I think exactly the same cost as previously. And there is great benefit that derives to the city through having someone there to support the obtaining of grants and different federal funds and working on different issues back there. So with that introduction then, to the council for any action or motion.
I move for approval, resolution 16-158.
Second.
Motion is properly before us. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to our recorder for the vote.
Councilman Vincent?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lang?
Yes.
Councilman Bueller?
Aye.
Councilman Hune?
Aye.
Councilman Christensen?
Yes.
Councilman Nordfeld?
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 16-159. This is a similar type of agreement with DSL Consulting, but this is at the state level. And of course, we have a lot more activity at the state level. And again, this is one that has been in place for a period of time, a total of $80,000 per year. And these have been beneficial to the city. There are actually amounts you could identify, things that have benefited, but there are always issues that affect cities. There is the League of Cities and Towns that lobbies on the behalf of all cities, but not all cities are the same, and some issues affect our city significantly more than perhaps other cities. And so having a contractor on board, a lobbyist, to represent us, as do many cities, is in the best interests of our city. With that introduction then, we'll turn to the council for a motion.
Mayor, I move for approval of resolution 16-159.
Second.
We have the motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Nordfeld?
Yes.
Councilman Christensen?
Yes.
Councilman Hune?
Aye.
Councilman Bueller?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang?
Yes.
Councilman Vincent?
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, we have Resolution 16-160. This is to approve the purchase of 3 vehicles. These are what we consider light vehicle replacements from Tony DeVino Toyota. They are this, excuse me, the state-approved contractor for Toyotas. In conjunction with this, we will be purchasing Camry hybrids, $23,000 each, for a total of $70,254 coming from our general fund. And so these are standard replacement time periods and mileage. We reviewed these in detail in an earlier meeting, and now these are before us for the final review for these purchases. Then to the council for a motion.
Move to approve resolution 16-160.
Second.
We have a motion and a second before us. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll turn to our city reporter.
Councilman Vincent?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lang?
Yes.
Councilman Bueller?
Aye.
Councilman Hune?
Aye.
Councilman Christensen?
Yes.
Councilman Nordfeld?
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we have resolution 16-161 to approve the purchase of 29 vehicles from Kengar Ford. Now, these vehicles are for various departments, although the largest number, 18, are for Interceptor sedans for the police department. The total amount on this request is $772,554. Ken Garford has the state contract on these, and there are several other vehicles, pickups, primarily an Explorer, and then a couple of cab chassis vehicles where they will be adapted. And so many of those going to the Public Works Department. Those are the items before us. With that introduction, then to the council.
Mayor, move for approval of Resolution 16161.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, to our city recorder.
Councilman Nordfeld,
Yes.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang,
Yes.
Councilman Vincent,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Next, we go to Resolution 16-162. This is for recording a delay agreement. Our requirements are that whenever a change is done, and I believe it's $50,000 or more, that they then are required to perform certain landscaping requirements, a 20-foot berm landscaped area between the right-of-way and their parking area with a tree every 30 feet. Since their project is $150,000, it triggered that. However, in this particular location, there are some proposed improvements from UDOT along the Mountain View corridor, which may impact this. And rather than construct it and then have that changed and redone, they're waiting to figure out how long that will take, and this will be delayed but not forgotten. And so those changes will take place, and their property is, is right there. I guess it's right on the south side of U-111, but in that corridor or close to it where the Mountain View corridor will go, and I know that preliminary drawings have been done, but those are not finalized. So this proposal.
U-201.
Oh, U-201, I said 111.
111 goes a different direction.
Yeah, you're right. My mind knows what I meant to say, but my mouth doesn't, so thank goodness it wasn't something bad I said. But that's why I need the council here to get those right for our audio and the record. So, yes, U-201, the 201 corridor, the freeway. And so, now that we have it correct, I think, we'll turn to the council for a motion.
Mayor, I move for approval of Resolution 16-162.
Second.
Properly before us, any discussion? No other mistakes found. We'll go ahead and move forward to our city recorder for a vote.
Councilman Vincent,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lang,
Yes.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilman Hume,
Aye.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Nordfeld,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, that completes our regularly scheduled agenda. We do not have a need for an executive session. Any final comments from the council? Seeing none, then our last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, non-debatable, doesn't require a second, as we found out or reminded last week. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you for coming tonight.
I
And,
have one more meeting.
oh, that's right.
I call to order the Housing Authority. Note that we've had an opening ceremony and that all members are present. We have one resolution. Mr. Pyle, if you would introduce that for us, please.
You bet. Thank you, sir. We are asking for approval of a resolution authorizing us to buy a home over on Lehman Avenue. This would be in conjunction with the ongoing Fairborn project, and specifically to a housing redevelopment project over there with the West Valley, or the Valley West. Notice that's Valley West.
County.
Valley Fair. That's right. I knew something didn't sound right there. Housing project. The purchase price of the home is at $253,000. We have a negotiated price, and this would authorize us to enter into that purchase agreement.
Thank you. All right, to the Housing Authority.
Just have a question, Mr. Pyle. Do we lease these back out until the time comes that we need to take them down?
Quite often we do, not always. Sometimes they're in pretty rough shape, and in those cases, it's not worth restoring them to leasable value, given the timeframes that we usually operate under. In this one, I believe we will, if I remember correctly. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, isn't the time frame we're operating on these a little bit longer?
It is,
than normal?
and this particular one, because it involves multiple agencies and federal funding and application
Yeah.
processes, we could be a couple of years into this. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One question, Mr. Pyle. In this picture, the one you guys sent it to us here, is that we own one house of that 7 houses, or we own all of them?
We don't own all of them yet, but we do own a couple. This isn't the first one we're purchasing, but it's one in the series. The way we pursue those negotiations isn't like from east to west or west to east or anything like that. It's as the properties become available, as they're negotiable. Obviously, we're doing that from the standpoint of trying to get the best deal for the housing authority in this case, or the city or the RDA when the other cases arise.
Thank you, very clear.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of Resolution 1609.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, we're turning to our secretary for the vote.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Aye.
Mr. Hume?
Aye.
Mr. Bigelow?
Aye.
Mr. Christensen?
Yes.
And Chairman Norfelt?
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you. That concludes our business. One final motion.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.